Your investigation into the tax affairs of the Sackler family is a stark reminder that wealthy people and big companies can still find inventive ways of paying less tax. The Sackler Files, May 11th. The rules of our system allow them to do this. The rules need to change. The story claimed that until his death at 93, Mortimer Sackler avoided a whole host of taxes on his fortune by claiming non-dom status. This bizarre loophole means that a billionaire like him could live in the UK for decades while claiming that he ultimately intended to settle elsewhere, and so legally pay little or no tax. It seems like a no-brainer for the government to abolish non-dom status. The Standard also exposed how Sackler's company shifted profits to the British tax haven of Bermuda for 25 years. By doing this, it was able to avoid hundreds of millions of pounds of corporation tax. This is something that most small and medium-sized companies can't do. There is some good news to take from the exposé. Due to changes in UK tax rules, and attention from European tax authorities, the Sackler company shifted most of its profits back to the UK in 2016. This shows that if it wants to, the government can change the tax system so that everyone pays their fair share. Robert Palmer, Executive Director, Tax Justice UK. Dear Robert, you are right to remind us of the complicity of him revenue. It allowed him to avoid paying massive amounts of tax while parading as a major philanthropist, donating millions to London's arts institutions and getting yet further tax deductions and naming rights in return. If ever there was a case to be challenged, it was this one. Yet HMRC appears to have also turned a blind eye to the Sackler-owned companies in the UK, Nap and Mundipharma, shifting profits to the tax haven of Bermuda, saving hundreds of millions of pounds in corporation tax. Ordinary people will look at these arrangements and feel cheated. The silver lining is that the rules have tightened since 2016 and that today a Mortimer Sackler would be unlikely to get away with tax avoidance on such an industrial scale. David Cohen, Investigations Editor. English Pen welcomes the parliamentary vote to remove press regulation provisions in the Data Protection Bill. These would have effectively coerced newspapers into joining a state-approved regulator, or else face the prospect of financially crippling legal costs every time they published something controversial. Either outcome would have been a clear chill on free speech. The government's record on free speech is far from perfect. The expansive surveillance regime set out in the Investigatory Powers Act 2016 hinders political activism and discourages whistleblowers from speaking to journalists. Defending free speech requires constant vigilance, and the government still has work to do. Antonia Byatt, Director, English Pen. Is Brexit the end of pet passports? As chairman of Passports for Pets, the voluntary organization formed in 1994 to successfully change the outdated quarantine system in the United Kingdom, I am concerned as to whether freedom of movement for the correctly prepared dog or cat will be affected by this country leaving the European Union. I am getting more and more inquiries from members anxious to know whether following Brexit we might return to the bad old days of being able to take our pets out of the UK but no longer being able to bring them back home without enduring the hardship of 6 months quarantine. Mr. Gove, please reassure us that this freedom of movement for the correctly prepared pet dog and cat will remain. Mary Frutwell, Chairman of Passports for Pets. Expand Heathrow to relieve pressure. Paul McGuinness, The Reader, May 11th, states that the third runway at Heathrow should be abandoned. As an employee of British Airways, I must respectfully disagree. I can attest that around 80 to 90% of flights have to circle around the airport in one of 4 holding patterns waiting for a landing slot. By allowing expansion to go ahead, it will relieve pressure on what is already one of the world's most congested airports. James Levy. Come friendly bombs and fall on Heathrow. Millions are affected by noise and pollution from Heathrow, to the detriment of their physical and mental health. Sleep deprivation is a type of torture. Most European countries locate their airports far from densely populated areas. Rebecca Lord thanked Tessa for London's Games. If you enjoyed the 2012 London Olympics, please spare a thought for Tessa Jowell, who died at the weekend, after battling a brain tumor. Dame Tessa did more than anyone to bring the Olympics to London. As Culture Secretary in 2002, she suggested London bid for the Games when everyone thought it pointless. Paris was sure to win, apparently, and a waste of millions of pounds. I keep hearing about a kinder, gentler politics. If there is such a thing, then it was Tessa Jowell, who had no political enemies and was very popular across the political divide. Her legacy is an Olympic Games that inspired millions in the UK and across the world, an Olympic stadium that will host sporting and music events for years, and a regeneration of East London that will benefit millions of people who live and work there. David Bottomede.